English is everywhere. We hear it on TV, in movies and in songs. People use English to talk to each other all over the world. How did this happen? English has a long and fascinating history. Let's travel back in time and explore how English became the language we know today. Tribes from Germany called Angles, Saxons and Jutes invaded Britain. They brought their languages with them. Over time, these languages mixed together and formed what we now call Old English. Old English was very different from modern English. It sounded more like German. It was a spoken language used by farmers, warriors and storytellers. Only a few people could read and write in those days. One famous example of Old English is the epic poem Beowulf. Just when things were settling down, new invaders arrived, the Vikings. These fierce warriors came from Scandinavia. They raided villages and disrupted life in England. The Vikings spoke Old Norse, a language similar to Old English. As they settled in England, their language began to influence Old English. Words like sky, skull and knife come from Old Norse. In 1066, William the Conqueror, Duke of Normandy, invaded England. The Battle of Hastings, a pivotal moment in English history, marked the beginning of Norman rule. The Normans spoke a language called Norman French. It became the language of the court, law and government. English was pushed aside, considered the language of the common people. Imagine an English peasant trying to understand a Norman lord. They would have spoken completely different languages. This period saw a clear division between the ruling class and the commoners. Over time, English started to borrow words from Norman French. Words like court, justice and government entered the language, reflecting the influence of Norman rule. Section 5. Chaucer's English. As centuries passed, English began to change, evolving through various stages influenced by different cultures and historical events. It started to sound less like Old English, which was heavily influenced by Germanic languages, and more like the English we speak today, incorporating elements from Norman French and Latin. This new form of English, which emerged around the 12th century and lasted until the late 15th century, is called Middle English. One of the most famous writers of Middle English was Geoffrey Chaucer, often referred to as the father of English literature. His masterpiece, The Canterbury Tales, is a collection of stories told by a diverse group of pilgrims travelling to Canterbury, each sharing their own unique tale. Chaucer's writing was full of humour, wit and keen observations about life in medieval England, capturing the essence of the society he lived in. His stories gave us a glimpse into the lives of everyday people, from knights and nuns to merchants and farmers, painting a vivid picture of the social classes and occupations of the time. Here's a line from the Canterbury Tales in Middle English. One that April with his sure suit, which translates to when April with its sweet showers. Chaucer's influence on the English language and literature is immeasurable, as he helped to standardise the vernacular and made literature accessible to a broader audience. Today, the Canterbury Tales remains a cornerstone of English literature, studied and enjoyed by readers around the world, offering timeless insights into human nature and society. Through Chaucer's work, we continue to connect with the past, understanding the evolution of our language and the enduring power of storytelling. Section 6. The Printing Press. In the 15th century, a revolutionary invention changed the world, the printing press. Invented by Johannes Gutenberg, this new technology allowed books to be mass-produced, transforming the way information was disseminated. Before the printing press, books were rare and expensive, often only found in the hands of the wealthy or within the confines of monasteries. They were copied by hand, a slow and laborious process that could take months or even years to complete a single book. The printing press made books more affordable and accessible to a wider audience, democratizing knowledge and education. This had a profound impact on the English language as more people began to read and write. With more books being printed, there was a greater need for a standardized form of English, leading to the development of consistent spelling and grammar rules. Writers and printers began to agree on these rules, which helped to unify the language across different regions. The printing press also helped to spread English throughout England, as books could now be distributed more widely and efficiently. People in different regions could now read the same books and share ideas more easily, fostering a sense of shared culture and knowledge. The printing press didn't just revolutionize books, it also paved the way for newspapers and other forms of printed media, further enhancing communication and information sharing. Today, the legacy of Gutenberg's invention lives on, as the printing press remains a cornerstone of modern publishing and information dissemination. Section 7. English sails the world. During the Age of Exploration, European powers, including England, set sail to explore and colonize new lands. This era, spanning from the 15th to the 17th century, was marked by a fervent quest for new territories, resources and trade routes. England, driven by ambition and competition with other European nations, embarked on numerous voyages across uncharted waters. English sailors and settlers brought their language with them to the Americas, Africa and Asia. As they established colonies and trading posts, they introduced English as a means of communication, not just among themselves, but also with the indigenous populations they encountered. English became the language of trade, government and education in many parts of the world. Colonial administration required a common language, and English served this purpose effectively. Trade documents, legal papers and educational materials were often written in English, solidifying its role in these societies. This marked the beginning of English's journey to becoming a global language. The spread of English was not just a byproduct of colonization, but a deliberate effort to unify and control vast territories under British rule. Imagine an English trading ship arriving in India. The sight of these ships symbolized the beginning of a new era of commerce and cultural exchange. English traders would have interacted with local merchants, using a mix of English and local languages to communicate. This interaction was not just about trade, but also about the exchange of ideas, customs and knowledge. This blending of languages led to the development of new varieties of English. Pidgin English, for example, emerged as a simplified form of communication that incorporated elements of both English and local languages, facilitating trade and interaction. The spread of English wasn't always peaceful. There were numerous conflicts and resistance from indigenous populations who sought to protect their lands, cultures and languages from foreign domination. It often came at the expense of indigenous languages and cultures. The imposition of English sometimes led to the erosion of local traditions and languages, leaving a lasting impact on the cultural landscape. The legacy of colonialism continues to shape the relationship between English and other languages today. In many former colonies, English remains a dominant or official language, coexisting with native languages and influencing contemporary cultural and social dynamics. Section 8. American English arises. As English spread throughout the world, new varieties of English emerged. One of the most significant developments was the rise of American English. American English developed its own unique features, influenced by the languages of Native Americans, African slaves, and European immigrants. New words and phrases emerged, reflecting the American experience. Words like canoe, raccoon, and hurricane were borrowed from Native American languages. American English also developed its own slang and regional dialects. Today, American English is one of the most influential varieties of English worldwide. Section 9. English in the digital age. In the 20th and 21st centuries, English has continued to evolve at a rapid pace. The rise of technology, particularly the internet and mobile devices, has had a profound impact on the language. New words and phrases are constantly being coined to describe new technologies and online experiences. Social media has also influenced how we use language, with abbreviations, emojis, and internet slang becoming commonplace. English is now the most widely spoken language online, used by people from all over the world to communicate, share information, and connect with others. Its status as a global lingua franca has been solidified in the digital age. The future of English is full of possibilities.